Welcome to the Sober Unicorn. We are a gay-hosted, all-inclusive podcast about sobriety and addiction recovery for the LGBT plus community and all of our allies. I am your host, Holden, and thank you for joining us today. Hey, everybody, it's Holden. I'm back here again with the Sober Unicorn. I hope everybody's doing absolutely amazing. Again, and if you're not and you're having a rough day, I hope everything gets better, and you can always reach out to us here at the Sober Unicorn. All the ads and where to contact us are at the end of the episode. So today I'm joined by a guest that I'm very familiar with. I was actually there when he first stepped into the 12-step program rooms. And of course, he's back in Texas still. He did not do anything crazy and move to Florida like I did. But I'm very happy to have him on because he's been asking me to come on to this damn podcast ever since I started the thing. So everybody, welcome Alex. Hello, Alex.
I'm sorry. There was a lot of fans out there. Hey, how you doing, Holden?
Good. I'm doing amazing today. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing great. Just trying to get some things with some work done, and might have a new job coming up, getting some adulting job type stuff. And I mean, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Oh,
So,
and I mean, I'm from Kansas City. The fucking Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl.
ain't nobody care about that. No, I'm kidding. Well, I don't know anything. I didn't know any games were even happening yesterday, except when I was at a meeting, everybody was like on their phones, face glued to their phone on like the football game. So I was like, what is going on here? Um, so anyways, so of course, Alex, you are past a year, I believe, in your recovery journey. Is that correct?
I passed it back in November, and so
November.
yes, November 21st, 21.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. I remember, I think it was 30 days because you were right after me because I was October 23rd, not
Mm-hmm.
no mo, which is okay. But now, but yeah, well, I mean, it's great to have you on. So why don't you kind of give everybody um a little bit of a backstory, kind of how crazy Alex was during his active addiction and kind of what led you up to seeking out a recovery room.
Okay. Um, and just before that, you say that we met and you were a month before me at that time. But while my sobriety date is November 21st of last year, that was not my first one. And a lot of times, for many people I've seen, it takes a couple falls before you can stand back up and find it the right way. And for me, what led to that time is I was just so tired and just beaten, and I was finally willing to give up and go all the way in. And because of the first few times I came into recovery, and for me it was in AA, I knew that there was a way, and I've seen people doing it. So I was very thankful for that. And there's many other ways that people can do it. Some people do it through church, some people do it through NA, or some meditation, iguanas.
Don't make fun of my iguana, Jesus.
But just the fact that I knew there was a group of people and a way of life that could be better than mine, that saved my life.
Oh,
And
that's the thing is that I can say, because of course I was 30, roughly around 30 days at the time. You came in and you were balls to the wall with it. I mean, you were going to multiple meetings a day. You immediately got a sponsor. Immediately started getting to work. You were always speaking up in every single meeting. A little too much sometimes, but that's okay.
uh,
Um, but you had a drive to make sure that when you were in the rooms that you were doing what you were supposed to do.
yeah, well, somebody told me that had a few more years told me that when it was snowing, it didn't stop me from going to the plug or to the liquor store. And if my car broke down, I still found a way to get high. So I have to have that same willing to stay sober and to improve my life. And so that's why I did that, because I mean, other than that, I was going to go back. And thankfully, that has led me to where I am today. And a little bit about my life. Um, I was born in Rwanda, and my family, there was a civil war over there. My family moved to Kansas in 1994, which was quite a shift because you go from an African country, and I've met like three white people up to that point in my life, and you go to Kansas, and like that's where they make white people at. Like there's a factory there. Like it was just like a culture shock, and snow too, like winter and snow. But it was cool. I got used to it, and fun, like great life growing up. I'm pretty lucky, two parents, like loving family. But along with some of the trauma from the war, and like for me, I had as a child, I had some sexual abuse that kind of fucked up my thinking in a way. I was angry at the world as a little kid, and I would always be getting into trouble doing things until I was 14, when I got drunk, and then a couple months later I got high, I smoked some weed, and it was like a click, like the final puzzle piece is missing in my life. I thought I'd solved the problem to my problems. Spoiler alert, I had just added new problems to my problems, but I didn't know that yet. Like as you may know, Holden, and many of the listeners may know, like we don't start out with these terrible drug addict problems, because otherwise I wouldn't have stayed with it. I but I started having problems early on, getting in trouble, quitting all my things. I quit the Boy Scouts, I quit the football team, I quit high school, and each one of those things was directly related to my my drug my drug habits. And I got in trouble multiple times, getting possession charges or like shoplifting charges. And the thing that I didn't see then, but I can easily see now, is that there was one common denominator. I would I would keep looking at my life and be like, well, I lost this job because of this situation. I got arrested because of this situation, or my girl broke up with me because of that situation. But each one of those situations had me choosing drugs and alcohol over that. Like that became like my reason my reason to live, or like, and not so deep and dark in my early 20s and stuff like that, but it was like my top priority. I'd be like, well, I gotta go to work, I gotta pay rent, I gotta, do this and that. But a lot of it was so I could get high. And I mean, through my 20s, through all that, all my friends are graduating, having kids, getting married, and I'm just kind of living the same life, like the groundhog, over and over and over again. And I had a lot of consequences, but they didn't start to get as terrible as recently till I was 31. And that's when I had uh, traumatic brain injury. I hit my head on the beam of a Jeep that I was hanging out of. Guess what? It's because I was fucked up, not making, not making rational decisions. And I went to the hospital. They saved my life. Uh, they cut like a piece of my skull off because my brain was swelling out bigger than my skull. And I woke up, and I mean, I've talked to my mom. She told me I had a lower than 50% chance of survival. And it is just a miracle that I'm still here, like not mostly brain dead. If any of my brain dead is because of other things that I've done in my life, not
You
that
yeah,
accident.
permafrost.
But anyway, I just remember I was in that room and where most people would be praying and thanking God and doing all this stuff. You know what my thought was, Holden?
What
I,
probably adding some more morphine to your drip.
nah, well, similar. I was like, man, these painkillers feeling good. I need some weed to go with it so it can jump up a notch. And I tried to leave my hotel. I mean, my I tried to leave my hospital room and had somebody come pick me up. And the nurse was like, if you leave, like, you're basically like you're saying you refuse the
Hmm.
service, and so we won't be able to do anything else for you. Luckily I didn't go, but like that was my priority at every cut and call. And that's when my addiction got a lot steeper because anybody could see, like, what are you doing, Alex? Like, you just survived like a near death experience and your first thought is to go get high. And I was just like, man, y'all haters. And I tried, and I was suffering from like some depression and things from that uh, accident. And I went to go see a therapist, and it started what was my road ultimately to recovery. It took 4 years, but it did because I went to see the therapist and I told her about some of my genuine traumatic events that I've been through, like in my youth. And she said, while these are serious, real things and that we need to talk about, you have an active addiction problem that will kill you if you don't do something about it. And she sent me to rehab, and I went and I left. And we did that about 7 or 8 times over the next few years, me going to rehab, leaving before it was done, or getting in a fight and getting kicked out. But through that, they always had us go to, um, they always had people come to bring AA and NA meetings. And I wasn't necessarily following what they were saying, but it at least put it into my mind. And I knew that there was people who, when they would tell their stories, they were just like mine. It might be a different drug. It might be a different problems that they had, but they were just like me. Because when I would hear the pain and when I would hear the desperation and some of the crazy shenanigans that they'd been through, I was like, oh, wow, this guy's telling my life story. How did he know about my stuff? And then I would see their happiness and like their new life that they were living. And I may not have been ready to do the things, to do the steps to change my life, but I knew that it was a possibility. And so eventually I get I mean, I'm basically homeless. I'm staying in this motel, just hanging out with some questionable characters and just doing drugs every day, just sitting there snorting my life away. And I finally I went I ran out of money and I went to my friend's dad's to stay with him. And it was just a spiritual action that took place. It was, I mean, whether you believe in God or whatever, you believe in luck or whatever, that took place because I quit my job because I was too high to go. And came up with this master plan. I'm like, if I quit, they can't fire me. You know what I'm saying? And So now I don't have a job, and I he asked me to go to his sister's 60th birthday, and I go to the party, and she says, "Great to meet you, Alex." She says, "I've been praying for you every day." Because she knows who I am. I know who she is, but we never met. And she knows I'd been in the rooms and went back out. And for some reason, I believed her. Like it was just this weird spiritual sense. I believed her. And then I walk into the rooms and I see people I'd seen from those rooms before. And I'm like, oh, there's recovery people here. And I start talking to them and I tell them my problems. And I'm like, I'll be at a meeting tomorrow. And I came into the meeting the next day. And as Holden says, like coming in fast and strong, I came in like that because it was a random chance that I ended up there that day. And so I knew that I had to hold on to it because I kind of came in before and was willy nilly and I'd went back out. And I was not, I no longer, it wasn't even about like consequences or being broke or being like my inner self was no longer happy with the person I was. And I didn't want that anymore. And so I was willing to do anything and everything to get my life back. And I'm glad to say, through I go personally go through AA, through going through AA, working the steps with somebody else with rigorous honesty and willing to do what was asked of me as opposed to just what I wanted has brought me I just wanted to be clean and to have a stable life. But it's brought me a happiness and a joy and a willingness to like be a better person that I didn't even dream of. And what I do now is I try to pass that message forward and to help someone else as the same way somebody helped me. Because if I can help in my life just one person climb out from that like wreckage of a like drowning from a sea of addiction and guilt and sorrow, if I can help one person throughout my whole life, I'll have done my job. And so that's why I just wanted to come here and talk to y'all. And for anybody out there who's struggling with this, like there's hope and there's a better way for this. And that shit ain't even expensive. It's like $2 a meet or something.
Well, but hold on, but reverse that, flip it and reverse it, like Missy Elliott is if you go to any 12-step room, though they do ask a donation, just because they are a self-supporting group. But if you cannot give, that is 100% okay. You are needed way more than that dollar, that 50 cents, that $2. So the thing is like, don't
Yes.
allow that to deter you from ever stepping into a room and seeking help, because trust me, there are many people there that in their first 5 years of recovery could never donate anything, but yet we're given help, we're given literature, we're given everything needed, the tools needed to be successful. Like hell, I mean, my group,
Mm-hmm.
they give away a piece of literature every, I think, Thursday, and it's like most
Yeah,
people
that's
there have recovery time, and here I am, like I'm just sitting there, and like nobody raises their hand for free literature. So I was like, all right, bitch, I'm gonna take it for free then.
I'll take the shit. Well, yeah,
Um,
that's very true because I choose to donate to my group because it's self-supporting and we got bills to pay, and also because since I've become economically stable in my life now, I'm able to. But there's no pressure to. If you ain't got it, they'll give it away for free. And also, as Holden was saying, anything that somebody needs, to do their recovery, there will be somebody there to do it for you. Because I can't drive right now, and I haven't driven in 3 years due like to my accident and stuff. And I have never not been able to go to a meeting or get a ride home from a meeting because there was always somebody there to either pick me up or find someone to pick me up. And after the meeting, there's always someone there willing to give me a ride. And the
Danny.
same with jobs, huh? And
Danny.
Holden held me down for a long time. And because people are willing to help and they know that there's always something missing. And same thing with like jobs, like some food or whatever. So I just hope nobody holds out of recovery because of maybe I can't afford it or I can't do this. Like anything that somebody needs in order to do like to get sober and to recover themselves, there's going to be somebody they're willing to help because somebody helped them in a time before.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So let's get into the topic of the episode. So, of course, coming into the rooms, I know a lot more that will probably be shared because, of course, Alex, when he first stepped up in that hoe again, um, he spoke a lot about his life and his family and stuff. I know that the family relationship you have now wasn't always that when you, of course, were in active addiction. And those relationships had to be rebuilt and amended and reestablished, and trust had to be earned again. So, kind of like, how did that look like for you with your family? Like, how did you work on those relationships again to make them what they are today?
Um, well, so here's the thing. I had expectations of when I came in because I was doing rigorous work and that I knew inside I was improving myself and people in recovery could also see that I was improving myself. The thing that I didn't see quite early though is that the people in recovery only saw sober Alex was working to improve themselves. They hadn't seen the damage and the wreck like the tornado of my life was for the past 20 years. And so with the loved ones around me, it was a little different because one, I had went into recovery before and failed. And I remember my dad had the last time I had went, I did like got like 7 months of clean time and was really improving myself. And he was so happy and was so just excited to have his son back. And so this time I went back in, I could tell for the first like 3 months, he was kind of had a like a an arms away because he didn't want his heart broken again. He didn't say that, but I could see that. And so one of the biggest things is it says the in the big book in AA on page 122, it says, but the head of the house has spent years in pulling down the structures of business, romance, friendship, health. These things are now ruined or damaged. It will take time to clear away the wreck. Though old buildings will eventually be replaced by finer ones, the new structure the new structures will take years to complete. So I would say patience is the biggest thing that helped me. You know, like I may feel like a new person, but it's only been a short amount of time of sobriety in comparison to all the other things. And so when I would talk to my sponsor, they would tell me patience. And by doing that and just trying to let my work show as opposed to my words show, it built what I had wanted because they started to genuinely see a different person. And so they were like, well, maybe, maybe Alex has changed. And then that turned to Alex has changed to where now we have a very good relationship. To my dad, I've worked in restaurants all my life, and he owns a restaurant, and he never wanted to hire me because he knew that I was not reliable. And now I run his kitchen, and that was only worked through time.
The kitchen.
Yeah,
Shit, I'd be
you
scared
got
to eat there with you in the kitchen.
nah, you got to come get these kebabs, man. But yeah, just through time and work, that's what has built that it built that trust.
How long? I would say because you like you said you were 7 months clean. And you said at 3 months your dad still had some reservations. So how long in recovery this time did it take for your parents to kind of see the change in you?
Well, like for each person, it depends. You know, it depends because I like for my mom, I think it came a lot faster, but I think it can depend on the personality and it can depend on the thing. But it took a few months just off tops, like probably 2 or 3 months just to at least because I came to live with them and I didn't have the keys for the like until like the fourth or fifth month. You know, I would have to come knock. I would have to be let in the house. And it took a few months and then like what I'm saying for bigger things like the working and things for my dad, that took about 7 months. And it it depends on the event and it depends on the person because maybe I may have hurt somebody a lot more emotionally or financially or whichever way that it might take them a little longer. But also the other thing is um like I have to understand that some people like I may be working a program but they're not. And so just because I'm doing something right doesn't mean that somebody necessarily is going to see it that way. And so one important thing as well is I am blessed that I haven't had to deal with that, but some people have told me, you know, that they never got the relationship right, but what they have is peace in themselves because they know that they took care of their side of the street, and eventually, you know, it might lead to something. Like one of my friends, her son, they they're fine and they're good, but like it's kind of still like a iffy relationship. But she just works her program and hope that one day, you know what I mean? It'll be that it'll be mended.
Yeah, and I think there's a huge importance. We consistently say to work the program, but I think there's a big difference of working the program and living the program. And I think when people forgive or try to mend relationships, they don't want to be like, "Ooh, I'm going to meetings on a daily basis. I'm talking to a sponsor about how fucked up my life is." It's what are you doing when you're outside that meeting
Mm,
that proves to me that you're trying to become a better person? How differently are you treating people? When you go to the grocery store and some bitch is breathing down your neck standing in line, are you turning around and snapping at her? Or are you just like letting it go and just move on? And the thing is, are if somebody's cutting you off in traffic, are you cursing them? Well, you don't drive, but are you cursing them out? Or are you saying, you know what, maybe that person needs to get to the place faster than I do. It'll be
yes.
okay. So there's a big difference between working a program and living the program. And I think it's so important that we have to live the principles set. Well, at least if you're a 12 stepper, you have to live the principles set by the program on a daily basis in order for the program to work. Because trust and believe, girl, that if you don't, that's when all these things are building up, resentments and retaliation and this anger, and it's a fucking
Well,
tumbleweed that
that's
starts.
that's a that's a great point because while I may be improving in my life, I still have a lot of little faults, and I be getting pissed at people. But one of the biggest things I've gotten out of working my 12 steps, is that I acknowledge and I accept my wrongs. So whereas I would have been mad at that person with the cart for like 12 days, now I'm like, oh, maybe they didn't see me. And then I just accept it and move on. And it gives me a lot more peace, because I may get mad real quick in the moment, but then I think about it. I think about what part I had to do in it, and then I accept it and move on. And that's very true, because for me, a lot of those like pent up, bent up feelings is what led me to drinking and to using. And so when I let shit go and I just move on about my day, I'm a lot more at peace. So things work out. But like, there's another thing with the mending family relations is, I went in, in the 10th step in AA, or the ninth step in AA, where you go to make amends for the things that you've done wrong. And I talked to my my pops about what I'd done, and he gave me a living amend, which is so important to my life, because he told me, first he forgave me, which was huge for me, but then he told me to be honest with yourself. And so it's one thing to just not lie to people, but to be honest to myself, because it has me checking myself, like, is this really what I'm supposed to do, or shouldn't you really get out of bed right now? Or just little things that make me a more just productive and efficient person in life. And but with that amends though, sometimes you're not gonna get what you thought you're gonna get. And that's okay too, because I really hurt my sister a lot through some things. I threw a brick through her car window. I cussed her out, like many, multiple things. And I went to go and we have a good relationship now, but I went to go make amends to her. And since we had a good relationship, I thought it'd be water under the bridge, but it really brought back some pain from her. And she told me, like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to do it. Like, and I had to respect that, of course, because like, it's not my job to decide how she feels. But what that led me to do is, as Holden said, to make a living amend. So what I try to do is to be a better person towards her. Towards, if she asks me something, I'm gonna go above and beyond, because I want to make up for the wrongs that I did. And by just living a better relationship, it's just led naturally to a better relationship. And that's a big thing that I would have never thought of before, because I would have thought, well, I apologized. I need my damn forgiveness. But it don't work out like that. It's more about actions. Like, actions speak a lot louder than words. And through my actions of these steps and of changing my behavior towards my family, I've gotten the benefits of a better relationship than I ever had. And that came way, some faster, some slower, but they've all eventually came.
Yeah, which is incredible. I mean, it's so nice to see, no matter how destructive a person can be, that through recovery and through just becoming a better fucking individual and staying clean, how any relationship, no matter how broken, can be fixed. It's I refer to it kind of as uh, oh my god, it's an ancient Chinese thing where it's like you drop a piece of porcelain and it breaks. They don't throw it away. They fill those cracks with gold and rebuild. And it's like,
Oh.
yes, it may have been broken at one point, but it is now usable, built, fully functional, and sometimes even more beautiful now than it was ever before.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we're at the end of the episode, um, if anybody resonated with your story, wants to get a hold of you, I think Alex is still single. No, um, but if anybody
Holla.
resonated with your story and wants to get a hold of you, where can they find you
You can find me at 6'8". No, I'm playing. I mean, you have my number. I'm on Instagram. It's motel.rwanda. And so Rwanda spelled Rwanda. You can also find me on Spotify under Motel Rwanda. Yeah, check my songs, man. And there's some recovery songs in there. And you I'm on Facebook, just Alex, Muhindura. But just one final thing though, I want to let y'all know these three these step works for me. What it brought me is it says in here, uh it says under I'm I'll don't hold me to this like with God or whatever if you feel uncomfortable. I just use this as an acronym. It could be a higher power. Mine's electromagnetic Jesus. Uh, it says when I did the first step, it was the gift of desperation. And by willing to admit that I was powerless, I got my first freedom. And the second step, it speaks of finding a higher power. And for me, it was the group of drunks that were in the room because they had the life that I wanted. And by doing what they were doing, I'm starting to get what they got. And the third step, it says giving up control to that higher power and not full control. I still make my decisions. I still do this, but I try to make those decisions through that. And by doing that, that's brought me good, orderly direction, which I never had in my life. And now that I do, I'm able to live a fuller life that I'm happy with. And since I'm happy, I don't have to put all these other things in my body. And I'm just I'm just at peace. I'm better. Life's good, y'all.
at? Well, thank you so much, Alex, for coming on. Finally, being able to come on to the show and
Yeah.
share your story. Thank you again for listening to today's episode. Hit that follow button to be notified about new episodes every week. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Instagram at The Sober Unicorn Podcast or on our website at thesoberunicornpodcast.com. There you will find our episodes as well as our very own sober-owned shop featuring products from small businesses that are sober-owned. And remember everyone, don't be normal, be a unicorn, but better yet, be a sober unicorn.